Honeywell and CNBC-TV18 present India Energy Transition Summit.
Hello and a very warm welcome to this special conversation. Honeywell and CNBC-TV18 present India Energy Transition Summit. As India accelerates its clean energy transition, there are many opportunities and challenges ahead. Today, we'll be discussing energy transition for everyone and how companies like Honeywell are positioning themselves to support this shift. From leveraging technology and innovation to meeting growing energy demands and sustainability goals, there's a lot to explore. Joining us to discuss this and more is Mr. Rajesh Gattupalli, President of Honeywell UOP. Thank you so much, Rajesh, for joining us. And I am very excited to talk about the prospects and what Honeywell UOP is doing. Let me first start with asking you about India's extensive landscape of doing work, and how are you preparing yourself to tap into that opportunity?
Mugdha, first, thanks you for having me here. So really appreciate it. It's always great to be back in India. So the opportunity is huge. If I put the numbers into perspective here, first think about 2023.
Right.
India imported 88% of crude oil, 40% of natural gas,
right,
20% of coal. Think about the amount of money that we are actually spending in imports. It's about $150 billion. You could actually use that money for development within India. So the opportunity, as I said, is really huge. What are we doing in that opportunity? The opportunity brings in with new things and exciting things for all us to explore. And Honeywell is playing into this energy transition in a big way. And the energy transition will happen in multiple ways. Not one fuel is going to help you get to it.
Sure.
So we are working on green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, carbon capture opportunities.
Yeah.
How do you actually take CO2 to methanol? So a lot of that goes into it. So the opportunity, as I said, is really big, and we're really excited about it.
Wonderful. Let me dissect each one of the verticals that you spoke about. Now, we're looking at India's natural gas demand set to touch rise by 8% in 2025. Where do you see that panning out for Honeywell?
So natural gas demand is really high in India, as obviously, but there is not a lot of amount of natural gas that is within India itself. So how do we use that as an opportunity, right? So what is rich in India is agriculture. A lot of farming is happening within India. So one of the things that is really big in India right now is compressed biogas, right? How do you use that as an alternative to natural gas? So the amount of work that is going on with compressed biogas, and all of the not only government enterprises but private enterprises within India are building thousands of these compressed biogas units everywhere within India. So where Honeywell plays into that picture is take that compressed biogas, and then you have to clean up the compressed biogas. So we sell cleaning up the compressed biogas as an opportunity for us. But also, these are segmented into many different places.
Right.
So you're building not just one, thousands of these smaller units. How do you integrate all of them through automation? And Honeywell is huge in automation. So that's an opportunity that brings us to be able to help the natural gas situation in India.
They say if you have aced the Indian markets and the domestic workings of India, you have pretty much aced any geography. We are looking at several CCUS challenges.
Right.
What's been the uptake from hard-to-abate sectors? What has the experience been and learnings been with these challenges?
So that's another tremendous opportunity for us. If you think about where is the biggest amount of CO2 that is coming from, it's hard-to-abate sectors, as you said, where, whether it's cement, coal, power plants, that's where all of the CO2 is coming in. But the technologies are there, whether it's the technology with a solvent-based technology that actually captures the CO2, or other technologies that we are seeing in the market now. It's not a technology issue, but how do you take that CO2 and utilize it? Sequestration is not that common in India. You don't have the opportunity to do a lot of sequestration. So using that CO2 to convert that CO2 into a molecule that is actually good, to convert into downstream renewable fuels or something else, is where the opportunity comes in. So if I think about Honeywell, where do I play in this space? Take that CO2, if you convert that CO2 to methanol, that methanol is a building block to make a lot of other things. You can take that methanol to make SAF, sustainable aviation fuel. You can take that methanol to make other renewable fuels as an opportunity. So CO2 brings a lot of opportunity for us at this point, and we have to be able to utilize the CO2 to be able to give us energy security within India.
I would love to speak to you about the aviation
Absolutely.
sector as well. But before that, how is Honeywell developing certain new technologies to help India achieve its 450 gigawatt renewable energy target by 2030, which is just
2030 is right on the corner, right?
Yeah.
So that is a tremendous question, because that doesn't come in with just one technology.
Yeah.
It will have to come through multiple different places. And I believe it's going to come through, whether it's through solar, whether it's through the green hydrogen piece that India is really huge into right now, or through renewable fuels. It have to come through multiple angles to be able to meet that demand that the government wants to achieve. And I believe we're going to get there, but it has to be a lot of different places that gets you to that target.
You spoke about green hydrogen biofuels. How are you supporting Indian refineries and integrating the two?
So biofuels, let's talk about biofuels a little bit. Honeywell UOP has been in this industry for about 115 years right now, supporting the oil and gas industry. So where biofuels comes into picture, when we first developed our technology on biofuels, this is 15, 20 years back. We were ahead of the market at that time. There was no subsidies, there was no requirement for renewable fuels. And when we first developed the technology, it took us a while for people to adopt it, for the customers and the market to adopt it. Once it adopted, we were able to license about more than 50 renewable fuel units around the world right now. So the market is there for renewable fuels. How are we utilizing it for the Indian market? Indian market, biofuels, there is a space for biofuels. And it will come from other sources which is rich in India. Biomass, if you consider biomass, biomass is so rich in India because of agriculture waste and all the other, the hard and soft wood that is available in India. You have an opportunity to convert that biomass to something that is really useful. In this particular case, we've been developing technologies to convert that biomass to renewable fuels, whether it's sustainable aviation fuel or renewable gasoline or something else. That is something that we see there is a big amount of opportunity within India.
Let me talk about India ramping up its methanol production. Where do you see its potential as a green fuel?
I see there is a tremendous amount of potential for methanol because, as I said, methanol can be a building block for the future. We just talked about CO2 capture. For example, if you start processing biogas, you're going to get syngas. If you start processing coal, you're going to get syngas. And anything that you get with syngas, which is carbon dioxide and hydrogen, you can make methanol. And that methanol is going to be a building block for us to be able to convert to future renewable fuels. And I think that is going to be the building block for us, for India, to get that energy security or to be able to make that sustainable aviation fuel or renewable fuels for the market.
We were talking about aviation industry and sustainable aviation fuel, which in the same sentence sort of baffles somebody when they're talking about aviation fuel and sustainability. What are the growth prospects there for an alternative and what is exciting you about this space with the trends that you're seeing across the world as well?
So sustainable aviation fuel, the growth is significant in the market because if you think about it, there is so much amount of sustainable aviation fuel that is coming into the market now. But then it is only less than 1% of what the global demand is. So now think about how much amount of opportunity or growth in that space. But for that to grow, the main issue that every customer or every country is facing is availability of feedstock. So us finding an alternative feedstocks is the most critical thing for sustainable aviation fuel. For example, most of the countries are utilizing used cooking oil or vegetable oils or soybean oil, something like that. But the amount of these feedstocks are very limited. And it's come to a point you don't have much of it available. So we need to explore other ways of making sustainable aviation fuel. One of the things I talked about, especially in India, is biomass. Biomass has a huge opportunity to be able to convert that into sustainable aviation fuel. The other one is syngas. We talked about methanol. How do you convert that syngas or CO2 to methanol and use that methanol as an opportunity to make sustainable aviation fuel? So the reason why I'm super excited about India is because of that opportunity to convert that CO2 to methanol and then or biomass to sustainable aviation fuel. So that's where I think the growth is going to come. But the leeway for making sustainable aviation fuel as a growth opportunity is significant because there is so much room to play with at this point.
We spoke about the aviation sector. We spoke about some of the industries that are fueling growth in the urban sectors and really the bigger towns and cities. But let's talk about rural India and its need for decentralized clean energy solutions where mini-grid comes into place. Would you like to tell us more about that?
Yeah, so this is another exciting part of it because rural India can actually play a bigger role. Think about biomass. We talk about a lot of paddy, the stubble that we see on the roads. All of that will actually come into the biomass picture. But then now talk about the mini grids. So compressed biogas is something that we talked previously. How do you get compressed biogas? From cow dung and other places. And you will have places within each of the rural India, many places of compressed biogas units, and you build thousands of this in multiple different spots. But then for us to be able to utilize that, you need to have mini grids.
Right.
Or even, for example, take solar into picture. The solar energy, you're not going to put solar energy at one spot. You will have places where you actually create solar energy panels in different spots. And to be able to create a mini grids and for that is super important. And one of the things where Honeywell is doing great at is basically using an automation, Honeywell automation technology, to be able to integrate that mini grids into the main grids is what is going to take us as an opportunity. And that's something that we are exploring, and we think there is a significant opportunity for Honeywell and India to grow in that space.
Honeywell and CNBC-TV18 present India Energy Transition Summit.
When we talk about energy transition, it of course comes with its own set of challenges. If we were to do a SWOT analysis of sort, let's look at the policy level first, and then talk about some of the other challenges that are very unique to India. At a policy level, where do you see opportunities and where do you see the challenges?
So at the policy level, I believe the opportunity is the support from government. Why is that? Many of these technologies have been developed very recently. You don't have a really lot of commercial experience with these technologies that have been operating for the last many years. So where policy can come in is helping these customers who are actually trying to make an investment in a completely new technology to be able to help those customers to take that next step.
Leap of faith.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's where policy can come in. The other place policy can come in is technology at this point. Anything sustainable or renewable, the price point at which you can actually get is on a higher scale when compared to fossil fuel. Able to help the government, able to help the customers or the industry to be able to bridge the gaps so they're not actually getting into losses is where policy actually comes into the picture. And the third thing where policy will come into picture is putting hard rules. Nobody is going to take a leap into sustainable or renewable or energy transition until government sets a rule saying that I need 1% of sustainable aviation fuel or 10% within a certain date. And setting the targets is going to make the kind of companies like us do a lot more in terms of developing technologies and customers like in the industry to be able to take that leap of faith and say, hey, I need to invest today to be able to achieve those targets. To me, it's a multiple things that has to happen for this industry to move at a faster pace. Right now, the pace is a little bit slow, just because everything hasn't come into come together to be able to make a leap.
I think when it comes to interventions, especially in this space, you do talk about stakeholders and you do talk about strategic partnerships and systemic changes as well. When we talk about the private sector and the private and government collaborations, what are some of the stakeholders that you're excited looking at, and what are some of the challenges that private players like yourself face when you are interacting with the government, and of course the intricacies of different states, different industries, regulations are different in every geography. How do you navigate through that?
So again, government of India has been super supportive to us, which is really good, because for example, the ethanol policy that they have put together over the last many years, and it's actually reaping huge benefits. And I'm sure the policies that are set in place for energy transition are gonna be at a faster pace in India. I think the support that we are getting from the government is tremendous at this point, but also the support that actually we are getting from the private sectors, because everybody wants to invest in this space. Everybody is seeing an opportunity. Just like I'm seeing the opportunity, Honeywell is seeing the opportunity. The private sector, when you talk about all the oil and gas industry, is seeing the same opportunity as well. And them getting the support from the government is helping them.
It's a win-win for all.
It's a win-win for all. Yeah. So to me, that's where technology is going to get commercialized. The sooner it commercializes, is the better it is for the world. If I can use 3 different words to tell, like, the way the situation is right now, for us to commercialize, technology has to be sustainable, it has to be affordable, and it has to be reliable. And if these are the 3 things that we can do in, like a Honeywell company like Honeywell can make sure that the technology can meet these 3 goals, I think we'll see the faster pace in energy transition.
We're also talking about India's net zero 2070 goal, which is a lofty one.
Yeah.
And every year there are a few setbacks and there are a few exciting opportunities that come in. Having said that, that intricate balance, when you look at 2070, it still looks like it still has to find its feet. How do you see Honeywell playing a bigger role in that narrative?
So one thing I can actually feel great about is it's a realistic goal, because I've seen others set targets which might not be realistic, but I think 2070 is a realistic goal. And the opportunity that we have seen in India through one of the great things that Indian government is doing is they're actually not looking at only one particular thing. They're actually working on multiple different things. We talked about ethanol, we talked about biomass, green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, solar, all things coming together. I have tremendous confidence that 2070 is a realistic target, and I think we'll get there.
Before I let you go, I have to ask you this question. What, in terms of technology, is exciting you in terms of newer trends that are emerging out of the world, which you are excited to bring to India, and also some of the works that are happening in the outside world that is very exciting? One
thing that we haven't talked about is AI. Right, and the reason why
everyone's talking about AI,
exactly.
Yes, of course.
And the reason why
how did I miss that?
The reason why that is super important for us is, I just talked about thousands of compressed biogas units and new technologies that are emerging. We don't have skilled workers in this space today. Like, even if the skilled workers that we have are retiring very soon, and the newer generation are coming up, but you can't have operators running 10,000 of these compressed biogas units, or think about any new technology that we are talking about. So I truly believe digitization is going to help tremendously for us to be able to leapfrog in this particular space, because when you combine technology, when you combine digitization, when you combine automation, all 3 of them together, I think that's where exactly we need to, for us to be able to achieve that 2070 target, this is going to play a huge role to be able to sustain that for a longer period of time.
So in the times to come, we are also seeing AI systems getting trained to perhaps take over the workload that perhaps the skilled worker is not able to do. And at Honeywell, where do you see your AI capabilities doing that?
We come in with a tremendous amount of opportunity. And the reason for that is, as a Honeywell UOP person, we have access to every refinery in the world. So what do? We have data that is available to us. So to be able to train the models and be able to predict the future is what we do best on the Honeywell side. So, and that helps customer take the trust in the models that we developed on the AI side. People talk about generative AI, deterministic AI. In this particular case, us having the data and being able to train the models is going to make it even more efficient for us. And that's where I see Honeywell as a bigger opportunity than anybody else in the world.
Rajesh, thank you so much for giving us your time. This has been so insightful. And as I always say, that we are living in very exciting times, and may we all thrive and do some meaningful work. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Mugdha. Really appreciate it.
So that was Mr. Gattupalli sharing his valuable insights on how Honeywell is playing a key role in India's energy transition, right from clean fuels to carbon capture and decentralized energy solutions. It's clear that technology and collaboration will be critical in achieving India's ambitious sustainability targets. We hope today's conversation inspires further action towards a cleaner, greener future. That's all from us for now. Stay tuned for more updates on CNBC TV18.
Honeywell and CNBC-TV18 present India Energy Transition Summit.